The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 327 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 2003's Darkness Falls is Cory Johnson.
Hey-o.
Ghost Ship. I'm looking at Ghost Ship. Darkness Falls. I'm so excited to talk about this one. You have no idea. I'm beaming with excitement because a while back I was on a friend's show called the Load Bearing Beams Podcast. We talked about the Devil's Rejects, and we had planned to do House of a Thousand Corpses for 2003. But their kid is out during summer, so it's harder for them to record during the day, and that's usually when it's the best for us. So we're gonna have them on, when their kid goes back to school. But I was going through 2003, and this was another one, just like Stepford Wives, where you were like, you know what we should do for 2003? Darkness Falls. And I was like, no further questions, 100%, because I have only seen this movie, I think, the one time when it originally came out, because my history with this one is it's one I saw very early. Like, I saw The Ring when it came out on, I think it was on DVD at the time. And then this one came out the next year after The Ring. I believe Ring was 2002. This was 2003. And I watched this one, and I remember it scaring the absolute dog shit out of me. And I was like, I haven't seen this in probably 25, I guess about 20 years. So I was like, we have to do this because I don't think it's going to hold up to it scaring the shit out of me as a kid. And I want to see how bad it is, or maybe it's just misunderstood. And we'll get to that eventually. But I will say I was not upset about watching it. I thought it was going to be just unwatchable, terrible, horrible. But honestly, I was like, I'm kind of digging this movie. It's not winning any awards. It's no masterpiece. But I am very happy that you brought this one up because like I said, I hadn't seen it in forever. And I'm happy to be here talking about it today. And I feel like most people have kind of just forgotten about this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those movies that just kind of got lost in the early aughts shuffle of just what was going on in movies at the time, because you had the golden age of the late 90s in some aspects going into the 2000s, and everything's like new and shiny and there's better cameras and you can make things easier. And like a lot of people made some movies that shouldn't have made movies, but this is not one of those. It just happened to come out right around the same time. It also scared the piss out of me as a child. This was a regular rental in rotation from Videotan. So we rented. We watched this at Kyle's house like 3 times at least. And then, I just kind of forgot about it. Like, it always had a spot in the back of my mind, but I was never like, oh, let's rewatch Darkness Falls. So rewatching it this time was the first time again in like you said, like 20 years.
Yeah.
So it was very strange because the things that I definitely remember being like genuinely scared of as a kid with this movie, I look back at it now and I'm like, no, that's not terrifying at all. Like, the other concepts that are going on in this movie to me as an adult now are like, oh, that's way worse than Matilda Dixon, who, by the way, worst scary woman name ever.
It's not great. Like Mary Shaw from Dead Silence. I love Mary Shaw. That's a great name.
Okay, it's hilarious you say that because in my notes, in parentheses, I said this bitch needs to take notes from Mary Shaw.
Yes. Yeah, because I mean, and this came out after Matilda, the movie, so I already have an association with a tiny girl who can do magic. So you're already off to a terrible start naming her Matilda right off the cuff. So yeah, Mary Shaw is definitely the superior name. But so before we will get to the review here in a little bit, but before we do that, we got to do this, and we got to do what did Jason Hill make me watch this week? This week he made me watch a movie called Shredder from 2003, which is funny because I had already bought this before he recommended it, so I was like, cool, I'll just watch the copy I already have. The IMDb summary is, at an exclusive, secluded North American ski resort up on Mount Rocky Summit, brutal slashing, severing, and beheading on a group of teenagers are taking place and are believed to be the work of a mysterious skier dressed in black. Great cold opening. Love the skiing happening and then just someone getting beheaded right off the bat. It was great. Some girl, while they were playing strip poker, somehow managed to remove her underwear without taking her pants off, and I was like, that is physically impossible. That's strange. A lot of weird choices made in this movie. The sheriff tries to kick them out of the ski resort that they're in because it's the off season, and but he was persuaded not to kick them out by girls being like coming on to him and giving him an undetermined amount of money that was one bill. So I really hope that was $1. A lot of 2000s dialogue regarding, like the gay community that was awful, not great. Not too much of it. I mean, I said there was a lot. They just harp on one thing a lot, so it's not like a variety of words, but it's definitely one word they use a little too much. And at one point, someone is caught lying, and this girl is like, all you've done is lie, front, and deceive us, and I kind of like that. And then she bangs them. Wild choices happening in this movie. All over the place. I really enjoyed it though for what it was. I mean, it's a slasher skier. I mean, how many of those could you even name? I can name this one. Like, I can't think of any other.
Yeah, no, I can't either. But this sounds, and obviously it came out a year before, but this sounds like Club Dread, just skiing instead of the beach.
Yeah, it kind of is. Honestly, it kind of is. It's a completely different climate in this movie than Club Dread because there also is some, 2000s dialogue that happens in Club Dread. I also am realizing that I don't know why Jason recommended this because it's from 2001. Did I already talk about this one? Am I going crazy? This movie's from 2001. Son of a bitch, Jason. 2 years prior to maybe it released in 2003. Son of a bitch. Anyways, for what it is, it's a lot of fun, despite the problems it clearly has. It's streaming on Prime, Tubi, Plex, and that's it, if you want to check it out. Plus, I also love the look of the killer. He's literally all black with these, like, mirror reflective goggles, and he's just killing people up in the mountain. And there's a pretty fun reveal. You're like, oh, okay. So it's actually like a kind of a whodunit at the same time. It's not just some random guy or girl. I
love a good slasher reveal.
Yeah, and it's not like a mind-blowing slasher reveal, but you're like, that person makes sense. Cool. I can accept that. So, I don't know. It was just a lot of good, cheesy fun from the early 2000s. It's also only 86 minutes, so with credits, or without credits, we're talking 80 minutes, so it's in and out. It has a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Jason gave it a 1.5 out of 5, and he says, was everyone this much of a fucking asshole in the 2000s? I think the answer is yes there. I gave it a 3.5 because it was just a goofy, silly time, and honestly had like a lot of good practical effects as well for the 2000s, in a time when CG was becoming way more popular. This movie's here with some beheadings, some slashing, some good blood and guts, so I had a lot of fun with it, but I'm also realizing, again, I say this every episode, I love cheesy bullshit that most people don't. So there you go. Once again, this was Shredder from apparently 2001.
Jason says, check it out. You'll probably hate it.
Thanks, Jason. Let's move on to the highest grossing movies of the year and the Oscar winners as well. So the highest grossing movie of the year is Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, $1.1 billion worldwide. And the highest grossing horror movie of the year is Gothica, $141.6 million. Something I had kind of forgotten about until I was writing this down. This is the 76th Academy Awards, presented on February 29, 2004, honoring movies released in 2003. Best Actor goes to Sean Penn for Mystic River. Actor in a supporting role is Tim Robbins for Mystic River as well. Best Actress goes to Charlize Theron, however you say her fucking name, for Monster. Actress in a supporting role goes to Renee Zellweger for Cold Mountain. Cinematography, Russell Boyd for the longest title I've ever seen, Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. Good luck putting that up on the marquee. Best Director goes to Peter Jackson for Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Musical score, Howard Shore, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And Best Picture, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. This is one that I was not able to watch prior, but I mean, I've literally been watching these. I saw all three of them in theaters, so I've been watching them since they came out. I've been watching them for 2 decades at this point. And we wanted to rewatch them recently anyways, and we have the extended cuts. The problem is it's like 12 hours of movie, and we have a 2-year-old, so it's really hard to watch a 4-hour movie. Like on the weeknights,
and she hasn't been fully inducted into the nerddom that is your family yet,
right?
So she doesn't have a proper understanding for the trilogy,
right? So yeah, but I don't really necessarily need to watch this to appreciate how good this movie is. For me, the trilogy itself is, I think, genuinely, I mean, probably the best trilogy that's out there. And I'm talking 3 movies, like not like Friday the 13th where there's, there's like 10 of them. I'm talking 3 movies. So you've got like Back to the Future, you've got Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Lord of the Rings. You've got like The Matrix, stuff like that. I mean, I guess technically The Matrix now is 4, but that's like a requel. I'm not counting that.
Yeah, we don't count Resurrection. That was an affront to all things that are that franchise.
Oh, and I really enjoyed it, honestly. But yeah, so this might be like the best trilogy out there because every single one of them has a 4.5 out of 5 from me, and the only reason that none of them get 5s is because they're not really standing the test of time. Some of the CG is not holding up, but I mean, they're basically perfect movies. I have no issues with them. However, this one does have the highest rating out of all 3 of them, I believe. But for me, my favorite is The Two Towers, and then Fellowship, and then Return of the King.
Yeah,
I love The Two Towers.
I would say for anybody that was especially a fan of the movies, like set aside the literature, but the movies themselves, that seems to be like a pretty popular take on ranking of them, just because like no one really knew what to expect with the first movie, and then it did gangbusters, and then Peter Jackson said, all right, now make it perfect for The Two Towers. And Return of the King, it's very, very grandiose, but I don't feel like it does the end of that story as much justice as the other 2 movies did. But I totally understand highest grossing and Best Picture because of just how massive of a scale it is for a movie. Especially at the time. I mean, they were doing stuff that was stuff that had really never been done before. Like the forced perspective thing. Yes, forced perspective has been used, decades prior, but how they did it in this movie, it was just like revolutionary in how they were able to make the scale of things. Gandalf being huge and the hobbits being tiny. Like what they were doing for the time was fucking just light years ahead of where we were at the time. And not only that, but just the amount of effort they put in. Like, so on the scale of the armies, some of them are CG, but like 45% of that is real people all in handmade costumes just for them.
Just for them, yeah.
It's the minute details through the entire series that just made it so elevated as what I would call the trilogy. When I'm talking about the trilogy, it's the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah, and I mean, even the original Star Wars trilogy is good. Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. But, Return of the Jedi, not the greatest. It's good. I don't think it's anything...
And see, my hot take is Return of the Jedi is the best movie out of the original trilogy.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I love Return of the Jedi.
Interesting. Okay. But yeah, I mean, looking at ratings specifically, Lord of the Rings Fellowship has a 4.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Two Towers, also a 4.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And Return of the King, 4.5 out of 5. So, according to the ratings, just from Letterboxd, I mean, this is absolutely the most... what's the word I'm looking for? Not balanced, but consistent.
Even?
There we go. Consistent
there you go.
In terms of ratings, and also all of them being a 4.4 or higher on Letterboxd, fucking unheard of for a trilogy of movies. So, we're gonna watch them at some point, but we just didn't have the time to get them. Like I said, my rating is a 4.5 out of 5. I don't have a quippy review because I haven't, it's actually been quite a while since I've watched them. It's going to hurt when I see how long it's been. Ooh, man, it's been 5 years. Wow, I'm slacking. So I'll have a funny review probably on the next episode. Anything else you'd like to add for Return of the King?
No, just go sink an afternoon, watch them all. Well, not even an afternoon. Go sink
your
half
day.
A day.
Most of your day. All right, perfect. Let's go to the IMDb Roundup. This is Darkness Falls from 2003, released on January 24th of that year in the U.S. It is PG-13 for terror and horror images and brief language. There is no sex and nudity, moderate violence and gore, mild profanity, mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking, and mild frightening and intense scenes. Coming in at an hour and 26 minutes. Got some fun facts about that when we get to trivia. Listed as a fantasy horror mystery thriller. Directed by Jonathan Liebesman, who also directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, Battle Los Angeles, and the TMNT movie from 2014. Written by John Fasano, who also wrote Another 48 Hours. James Vanderbilt, who also wrote Zodiac, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and Scream 5 through 6. So he went on to do very well. And then we have Joe Harris.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, and then we have Joe Harris, who only had 5 other credits for shorts and TV series. Composed by Brian Tyler, who has over 150 credits. He's also done things like Constantine, multiple Fast and Furious movies, and Marvel movies, and he did Ready or Not. So again, went on to do great things. Love this. Cinematography by Dan Louston, who also did the cinematography for Mimic, Silent Hill, and John Wick 2 through 4. Yet again, someone who has just taken their career in a fucking amazing direction, and then edited by 2 people. First is Timothy Alverson, who also edited Orphan, Halloween 1 through 3. That's not right. Probably 1 through 2, the Rob Zombie ones, I'm assuming, and The Woman in the Yard. And then Steve Merkovich, who had a prolific career prior to this movie, because he edited Prince of Darkness, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Starring Cheney Clay as Kyle, who was also in Legally Blonde as Brandon. We have Emily Caulfield as Caitlin, who was also in 85 episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Anya. Lee Cormie as Michael, who has done mostly TV and short films, but he was also in something called December Boys as Misty. So you have that. Then we have Grant Perot as Larry, who has definitely done stuff and things I've never heard of. Sullivan Stapleton as Matt, who was also in 300 as Themistocles. And then we have Steve Mazoukias as Dr. Murphy. He was also in Late Night with the Devil as Xandor Diabo. So there you go. Estimated budget of $11 million, grossing $47.5 million. Filmed in Maine and Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria, Australia. So 1 part of the US and then 3 parts of Australia. Crazy. Oh, apparently you can watch this on YouTube for free. Oh, that's right. Yes, you can. I sent you that link.
Yeah, that's how I watched it.
That's it. Movies that came out around the same time, we have the Wild Thornberrys movie, Chicago, The Pianist, Kangaroo, Jack, Final Destination 2, which made me so irrationally mad that both of those movies made $90 million. Kangaroo Jack and Final Destination 2 made the same amount of money. Wild to me. Irreversible, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Shanghai Nights, Daredevil, and Old School. IMDb summary, a vengeful spirit has taken the form of the Tooth Fairy to exact vengeance on the town that lynched her 150 years earlier. Her only opposition is the only child, now grown up, who has survived her before. This is Darkness Falls.
Over 150 years ago, in the town of Darkness Falls, Matilda Dixon was adored by all the children. Whenever one of them lost a tooth, they would bring it to her in exchange for a gold coin, earning her the name, the Tooth Fairy. But when 2 children didn't come home, they blamed Matilda, and they hanged her in the light. Now, they thought the past was dead and buried, but it's about to come back with a vengeance.
You don't know what you're dealing with.
What the hell was that? I get these things, these night terrors. I don't know what's real and what's not.
She won't come in the light.
Who?
You know who.
You stay in the light, you stay alive. Just walk towards my voice. Come on, it's just 3 steps.
How close is it?
This winter, evil rises. Darkness falls.
So, Corey, overall thoughts on Darkness Falls. What do you have?
This is such a hard movie to give like an overall thoughts, because the magic of this movie is in the details, or the lack thereof. This movie is very cobbled together. One of my notes says this movie is just one giant set. None of the locations are cohesive. Because they're in a hospital, now they're on a dirt road, now they're in a lighthouse, and it's this town makes no sense. The buildings that they are in make no sense. Like, what the fuck is this hospital that the little kid is in through like most of the movie? It feels like an old asylum that they converted into a hospital. I'm derailing on my overall thoughts, but that's what this movie does. Is it's so bizarrely unique for what it is, and in a lot of places it really hits its mark, but in a lot of other places it really misses its mark.
That is pretty much how I feel, because my overall thoughts are this movie has the capacity, or had the capacity, to be something truly great. And I believe, just like Shredder, there is a fantastic movie hiding somewhere in what we got, but it's ultimately bogged down by some key aspects we'll get into in a little bit. I did enjoy it way more than I expected, but it is not a great movie by any means. So, going into the movie itself, I did like, so the opening scene is not really necessarily a cold open, but it does build you up with like an ounce of lore. It's a I like what they're doing. It's the classic tale of the Tooth Fairy who went bad. It's kind of cheesy, but I enjoy the concept. They do just kind of lore dump everything on you right away, and then they don't really ever go back to expanding upon that. Like,
no, they give you the story. They give you the story right up front, and they say that's fucking it.
That's it. Which leads you to have a multitude of questions throughout the rest of the fucking movie, which I have so many random thoughts about. That's going to be most of this episode, is my random questions and thoughts. But I mean, it's very 2000s in the opening itself, because it's, you know, it's got a narrator talking about the lore, and 150 years ago this happened, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. Yeah, but the fact that they just don't really go back to that lore and expand on it really is this movie's biggest pitfall, I think. I need to know more information, but I love the fact that it's like a Tooth Fairy gone bad, because as a child, at least from what I remember, I don't remember there being any negative repercussions from the Tooth Fairy. It was just put it under your pillow, get money. I don't remember my parents being like, don't look or else you'll die. Like, I don't think that was part of the lore.
That was never a thing.
Right. So that's cool.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how it just goes from like, oh, she was just like a weird, creepy old woman, to now after she's dead, she can fucking fly. And like, not just like, ooh, hooky spooky float around. Like, this bitch zips.
It's like she's on fucking wires. This bitch is getting around. Yeah, so I actually have a lot of stuff that worked for me, weirdly enough. And I mean, there's probably an equal amount of stuff that didn't work, but what worked for me is, like I said, I love the idea of this film. It's a folklore, with a nasty spin on it. If you peek, you die or whatever. And I like that. I think that's fun, because there are some genuine moments of unease that I felt during this. A lot of times where I was like, man, like I get a genuine sense of like dread. And it's not necessarily from the scares, but like how shots were framed and the sound design and the fear of not knowing exactly what's going to happen. And maybe that was coming back from my childhood when I was a kid and watching this. But I mean, there were times where I was like, I'm really kind of uneasy about what's going to happen. Did you have any sort of dread or unease watching this?
Somewhat. So this is one of the very few movies from my childhood that I watched with like no rose tinted glasses at all.
Oh.
I don't know how I was able to kind of capture that. Maybe it was just so a lot of the things that scared me about this movie as a child stemmed from a bunch of like insecurities I had as a child.
Okay.
So now that I don't have those kind of concepts aren't as scary or worrisome to me. So I went into this movie with just a completely different headspace, because that headspace doesn't exist for me anymore.
Interesting. Okay.
So some of the dreadfulness of it to me came from one of the things that I really, really like about this movie, which is the character interactions, because they're so bizarre. Like, everybody acts like they're interacting with each other for the first time ever, even though there's established history. And it makes the situations that could so easily just be like, yo, here's what's going on. Stick me here and watch for like 2 hours. I promise you I'm telling the truth. Just communicate a little bit, and communicate as a human and not some fucking character on a piece of paper. And this entire movie is solved.
Well, I can see both sides, right? So yes, I totally see your side, because the interactions were very strange. But I mean, it has been like 12 years since they've seen him. So, but like, it's not just with interactions with him, it's interactions with everyone. But so I can see it in the fact of like, not everyone knows how to interact with him. Kyle, who's come back after being locked away for, I think they said it was like 8 years or something like that. And then he was living out in Vegas with a foster family or something for a few years. So I can understand everyone not really knowing how to interact with them or with him, but not interacting. They interact the same way with him that they do with everybody else, which doesn't make sense. And this is like a very small town. Darkness Falls.
Caitlin doesn't know how to interact with her brother. Nobody knows how to interact with her brother. The cops don't know how to interact with Caitlin. Fucking nobody knows how to interact with anybody.
But you know,
it's like they shot the movie a bunch of times. They shot the movie all completely through with each actor only on screen, and then they edited each actor in, and they're not actually acting off of anybody. It's just solo shots.
Oh my God.
Smashed together. So what it feels like in some of these.
No, I told, but you know what's really funny about that is the fact that I do find it so unironically hilarious. There were
what it's one of the pieces of charm about this movie, because it's that fairy tale folklore, and now these people are almost like fairy tale-esque. They are so oblivious to the chaos around them.
And there's also some even in that like the how I find this unironically funny is like there's even some solid set up jokes. Like, for example, there's one that stood out when Kyle mentions Larry stole candy as a kid. Larry is like, yeah, that's why I'm a defense attorney now. And I was like, that's good. Like, there's like some actual genuine comedy in here, which is something I didn't expect. I mean, the characters are kind of one-dimensional. They obviously spend the most time on Kyle and his past, but a lot of the acting is very flat, very just kind of dead. It needs to pump some life into it. But the few other things I did enjoy is editing, sound design. The editing I thought was quite well. It's extremely cohesive, doesn't fall victim to that jarring editing of this time. There are some elements of that in there, but it's used in such small dosages that it doesn't overdo it. And the sound design, again, was just like all the other movies we've watched recently around this time. It was fucking slapping, dude. There's that one noise the Tooth Fairy makes where it's kind of like The Grudge, where it's like, or whatever she does.
Yeah.
And it can't, like, my rear right speaker, which I sit closest to that when it happened, and I like went like that because I was like, oh fuck, I didn't remember that noise, and like the hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I was like, holy fuck, that was an unnerving noise. And then there's these swirling effects that was just giving my surround sound a fucking workout.
See, and you have really, really good surround sound. I will say the sound effects were great.
Yeah.
But overall, and now I don't know if this is just my TV or whatever, but I had my TV as loud as the sound will output. And this movie was so quiet.
Oh, wow.
It was so quiet. The audio leveling guy should have been fucking fired.
That might be something to do with it being on YouTube, because the levels on my system, I didn't have no issues with the
so that'll probably nix a few of my comments.
Okay.
Because like the thematic lighting of this, like when they're doing the like flashing of the lights or whatever, but like once the Tooth Fairy is there, or when they're trying to set something up, the thematic lighting is just terrible. And then it's also so fucking dark. I've had this complaint with a few movies recently, but man, this movie is dark.
Maybe you need to adjust some settings on the TV.
It doesn't have settings like that. Oh, it's like a 15-year-old TV.
Jesus. Yeah, the DVD copy looked shockingly good for being a DVD, but all of the production elements, at least from my end of things, it's $11 million budget, so that's a pretty big budget for a movie, a horror movie around this time. That wasn't what I didn't realize. I think this was a Columbia Pictures. I'm pretty sure Columbia came up at the beginning of this one, which I was like, wow, that's a big studio. So all of everything that went into this movie, outside of really the actors, because they weren't that great, but and the sets were a mishmash of just randomness. But the sound design for me, the cinematography, and the editing was just, I think it was very well done. And there's two scenes specifically that I think go hard as fuck. The police station scene, I fucking love that scene. There's some wonky CG that happens. But it's dark and stormy. The power's out. The Tooth Fairy is just flying around, fucking all these people up. It's great. And the lighthouse scene, minus the very, very poorly done. How she like explodes into fire, and I was like, wow, that was bad. But like everything up to that, I was like, those scenes fucking they fuck. I love them. I love those two, because I remember or at least I remember reading like, oh, the ending sucks, and I was like, I remember the ending being in a lighthouse, and yeah, it wasn't like the greatest, because I mean, she's literally in a lighthouse with the light spiraling around. I can clearly see the light being shown upon her, and nothing's happening, but it isn't until it fully comes around and gets her. And I was like, I could see you lit the fuck up right now. So how are we not burning into oblivion? And then one other thing I liked was but they never really came back around to it. Were Caitlin and Larry, were they dating? Were they married? I don't even think they fully explain.
I don't know, because Larry is such a bizarre character.
He's literally a cartoon. He's a fucking cartoon. He's a caricature.
I have in my notes that Larry feels like an 80s character stuck in a 2000s movie.
Yeah.
And you saying cartoon character, I would say, yeah, probably more cartoonish than an 80s character. But he's in almost none of the movie until he is. Like, he's there at the beginning for a little bit, and then he fucks off, and then he's there at the end, and you're like, what the fuck, Larry? Where'd you come from? He's also the most hilarious character.
Right.
He also is one of the only ones that, like, I feel like he doesn't have to, like, try acting. Like, his character feels the most natural. And I wonder if, like, I feel like Kyle's is unnatural because he looks like Andrew Garfield stung by 1,000 bees. And he's just got a weird head to body ratio.
He does.
So it's really hard to like watch him act. You're like, this is weird. But no, Larry's great.
Well, and that's one of the things I liked, is that the movie subtly shows that Caitlin clearly has some issue with Larry without even saying a word. Like, she's visibly upset when Larry suggests dinner, and she's like, no, I'll just stay with Michael. But then they never really, again, something they just don't go back to. Or are they married? Are they boyfriend, girlfriend? Are they like at ends with each other? Like, they didn't go into any more detail about what was going on with them. But I loved how subtly, like, I got the feeling right away. I was like, well, something's going on between them. Maybe they're separated or something. I don't know. But then, yeah, they just don't explain that. And the credits were great as well because they're 12 minutes long. Fucking whoever did work on those credits, fucking round of applause for you, because they went on for way too long, and they had to, which I'll get to the trivia on. What else? Anything else work for you with Darkness Falls?
There's a lot of like micro moments that really make this movie for me. So like when they're storming the lighthouse and you've got Kyle, Caitlin, and Matt, and Kyle and Caitlin have all the lights, and then you see Matt trailing behind them with a shotgun that, even for a police officer, is multiple felonies. Pistol grip, sawed off. Like, he does not have the tax stamps for this to be going after the Tooth Fairy. One of my favorite scenes, I think it's in the beginning when we see young Kyle and the Tooth Fairy is outside of his door, like upside down in the door frame, cape blowing in the non-existent wind.
In the house.
In the house. It's such a creepy visual, but if you stop to analyze it for like more than 2 seconds, you're like, this is ugly and does not make sense. I will say the CGI aged horribly,
very poorly,
like milk.
Yeah,
but it does bring a little bit of the charm back. Maybe it really depends on your headspace, I guess. The character that I like the least is also one of the things that I like most about the movie. Michael, he looks like an upside down version of Macaulay Culkin, and he is also the absolute worst child actor I've ever seen. He gives off fifth sense energy. He's fucking stinky.
Oh my God, Andrew Garfield stung by 1,000 bees, Macaulay Culkin upside down. I fucking love the way your brain works so much. Holy shit.
He's the worst actor, but this entire movie is predicated on him and the shit that he has to go through, and I think it's hilarious.
Oh God, yeah, I know.
The other thing that I really love is because of his character, you get to see like what I think is a fun kind of behind the scenes thing.
Okay.
So you can really tell where they decided where to spend budget, because they're like, oh, we're going to put Michael in the sensory deprivation like chamber.
You mean an MRI machine?
Yeah, a decommissioned, broken down MRI. Like, what the fuck?
Sure.
So you can tell, okay, they didn't have budget for that because they definitely spent it on, at the time, what they thought was the most awesome CGI explosion ever. Michael Bay, who?
Yeah, they could have easily made a fucking pool with a tarp over it for their sensory depth chamber. No, they went with a fucking MRI machine. Oh, God, I'm still reeling from Macaulay Culkin upside down. That's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
The other thing, this is my favorite line, because it's just said ad nauseum through the movie. You have to believe me. Like, if I did a shot for every time they said you have to believe me, I would be broken and dead from alcohol poisoning.
Oh my God. Fuck, you said something that I wanted to say something about, and now it's gone. I'm just cracking up from everything you've been saying. It's gone. It's gone in the wind. Just like her cape. Yeah, now I didn't even fucking put that together until you said that, because I love that scene. And then the cape flowing in the non-existent wind. I'm like, that's right. They were in fucking side. So that doesn't even make any sense. So let's move on to the things that didn't work. There's plenty here. The biggest thing for me, it's established that any light, not like sunlight, not fucking just any fucking light, will mess this bitch up. So how on earth has anybody even fucking seen her? Because you need some amount of light to see this person, and shouldn't even moonlight, would that fuck her up too? They did not establish enough of the lore for me to be like, well,
You're giving way too much science to a movie that sticks way too hard to its PG-13 rating.
All right, so we'll get rid of that one. Oh, I was gonna say something about Kyle. That's right, because I think it is hilarious that the movie does hinge essentially on everything that's going on with Michael, but he's not even the main fucking character. Kyle is the main character, and he's coming to help Michael because they're both experiencing the same thing. Which I have questions about that too. So they give us a timeline of like Kyle was gone for 12 years, but it's like, why is Caitlin now waiting until to contact him? Why didn't she try to find him before? Like, could you not visit someone at the institute he was at? He got out and was in Vegas. You didn't try to find him then. Why now? Because Michael's going through this? Just seems very
because Caitlin is vapid. And only cared about what Kyle could do for her.
Yeah.
Even as children.
That's true. Yeah, because it's like, oh, well, this is a convenient plot device. This thing's happening to Michael. Let me call the only other person I knew that this happened to. Well, wait, that doesn't even make any sense, because she didn't know what was going on with him at the time. Everyone thought that he killed his mom. So why is she even fucking calling him about the Tooth Fairy thing to begin with? I just thought of that right now. Why would she even be contacting him? Because like
maybe it's because, I mean, he said it was Matilda Dixon.
Yeah, maybe. Like, yeah, okay.
That was his story, and he stuck to it the entire time.
Okay.
So, I mean, at least that's probably why. Like, he at least said it out loud to people.
Okay. So there's a lot of assumptions that you were forced to make with this movie. For example, where's Kyle's dad? I assume he's dead or divorced from Kyle's mom. Why is Kyle still being chased by this entity? I assume because he saw her and escaped. That's not made clear. Why is she killing people that aren't Kyle? I assume because they're in her way. Why is he safe at the psych ward? I guess it's because it's out of town and she can't leave Darkness Falls. Like, I have so many fucking questions.
Well, I think I'm gonna. So
this is just shit they don't explain.
This movie has a horrible outlook on mental health. In my notes, where is it? Quote, if a man takes antipsychotics, he may have a tendency to become psychotic, unquote. It's a horribly early 2000s outlook. So they're probably expecting you, just like you have to make some leaps. They're probably thinking, all right, well, if he was in a mental institution, he's going to be in a hospital where they don't ever turn off the lights, blah, 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 blah. So they stick him in a bright padded room in a loony bin is what they're trying to get you to infer. So I guess he can sleep in the light because there's light, I guess.
That's the thing. That's the thing. They don't make it clear. It's either he was in light 24/7, which I've been in a psych ward for 3 days when I got Baker acted, and they fucking shut the lights off for me. Or that she's only contained to Darkness Falls. But it's like, they don't tell you either way. So if she is contained to Darkness Falls, why are you coming back to Darkness Falls?
And we can see that she's not, because he has to keep his flashlights and shit going even when he's not in Darkness Falls before he comes back.
That's right. He has all those flashlights. So yeah, I guess they are insinuating that the lights are on 24/7 at this place, which that's not a thing that happens. Okay, so but again, they don't explain any of the stuff that I had questions for. The whole cops pursuing Kyle as a suspect for killing Ray when they literally have no proof, nothing. The only thing that they have is that he's psychotic and he was in a psych ward, so it has to be him because he was the last person to see Ray. They don't do any fucking police work. They're terrible at their jobs. And they're just like, it's him because he's the crazy man taking antipsychotics. We're going to point the finger at him. And then when it turns out it's really not him and they all get ganked at the police station, that was fucking the highest form of comedy I've ever fucking seen. It was great.
I do love the police station whole sequence. I also think it's hilarious that random guy in a bar, Ray, is arguably one of the most famous people in this movie.
Yep. I was going to ask, did you see the Tucker cameo from Insidious?
Yeah.
I think his name's Tucker. It's Specs and Tucker, I believe, from Ghostly Sightings.
Specs and Tucker.
Yeah, so I saw him and I was like, I know him. What do I know? Oh, Insidious!
Yeah, I had to pause the movie and go on IMDb. He's been in actually like a good amount of things.
He's been doing a lot. Other things that didn't work, again, we've mentioned this story was not fleshed out enough. There's too many questions. The lore is only explained at the beginning and then just repeated throughout the rest of the movie. They don't expand upon it. They just repeat what was already stated. CG that's used is terrible. Luckily, it is limited and really doesn't happen until the end. And then much like Pitch Black, having any sort of light is odd. Usually it's specific to like UV or something. So it's just like even candlelight at one point affects her. Like, okay, this is very strange. There's just so many questions that come with this movie. Like I said, there is a really good movie hiding in what we got. It's there. They really fucked off with it. Like, oh my God, you had such a good premise, especially for the time, for 2003. And I think it was, if they would have just given a little more of shit, they might have put out something that could have been equally as good as The Ring. But, and I think that's what they tried to do with this one. They saw how good The Ring did, because that was also PG-13. That movie made like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're like, oh, we got to capitalize on PG-13 horror while it's hot. And then they gave us this. And then, yeah. So what you got? What are some things that did not work for you?
So like you mentioned, like this movie honestly suffers from its PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
I feel like if we could have gotten a little bit more like actual violence, a little bit more fleshing out of the lore with some of that R-rated quality to it, where, you know, just a slightly touchier subject, maybe, to spur on the lore, instead of yada yada. They thought these kids disappeared. Turns out they didn't. Oops, oh well.
Oopsies.
Like, yeah, they kind of oopsie doodles their way into a eldritch fucking tooth killer. The one thing that really, really irks me about this movie is this is say something and the opposite happens the movie. Like, oh, don't worry, she can't get here. She ends up there. Oh, the blah, blah, blah. We don't believe you. Thing proceeds to happen to make the... And it's not even in a natural way. It's very spoon-fed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can tell somebody in the writer's room was like, yo, and for this next part, we're going to have him say the thing, and then the opposite is going to happen.
It's very
and everybody sets their pens down and be like, you get a fucking raise.
You brilliant bastard.
And then they did that the entire movie.
Yeah, they did. They really did. Golly. Hot take for me is I do think this is a good movie. It's not winning any awards. It's not a masterpiece. I just don't think a poorly written story should, and, you know, flat acting should overshadow the production of this, because it really does have solid production. I mean, that's like half the movie for me. If you have good sound design, good cinematography, good like color grading and all that stuff, like I'm gonna, you know, it has a lot of good elements. So I don't think that, you know, those two things should overshadow it. But like I said, it's not great. I did enjoy it much more than I thought I would, but it's not like I said, it's not a great movie. There are just a lot of good elements, but also almost an equal amount of bad. Any hot takes for you?
No, not really. My hot takes would be just pretty lukewarm takes. like you said, like, there's a good movie in there somewhere, and if you have the nostalgia for the movie, you're gonna enjoy it, but it is objectively a poor quality movie.
Right. Hooked for me is when Kyle's mom died, because I didn't think, I forgot that the Tooth Fairy killed more than just kids. I was like, oh shit, that's right. Like, other people are on the table and she gets taken out mad early. So I was like, all right, cool. And then you see the scene of the Tooth Fairy like on the wall, and I was like, all right, I'm hooked in. Did you actually have a moment that hooked you in, or?
No, not really. This was, this was one of the more passive movies that I've seen in a while, just because, like, it's not even like it ebbs and flows. Like, the movie just is. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, there's some like notable parts, but I wouldn't say anything was like, hey, yo, you need to pay attention to this, because it's a brainless watch. You don't have to think, because there's nothing to think about.
Right.
Because if you do think about it, oh, where's the lore? Fuck.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna have all these random thoughts like I have. So for me, the movie never fully loses me. There's just like you mentioned, micro moments. There's micro moments of like, geez, I wish the story was more fleshed out and thorough. So it was like a roller coaster. I'm like, just why didn't you make the lore more just straightforward? Is there one moment that takes you out, or is it kind of just like you said it's very passive?
And see, so in the taking you out of it, so like I have very strong, distinct memories of this movie, of how it made me feel in my childhood. Mm-hmm. And in my brain, the movie exists in 3 distinct places: in the hospital, in the police station, and in the lighthouse.
Yep.
And everything in between was just kind of a wash. So rewatching it with a more critical brain, I was like, oh, I don't remember any of this.
Right.
What's going on? How do they get there? It was more of me questioning, like, what? Because I didn't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And less of it being like, oh, that's just uninteresting.
Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Horror moment for me is after Larry and Kyle crash, the Tooth Fairy lunges down at Larry and like comes right at the camera. Not even kidding, my whole body took a screenshot. I just was like, fucking did not like that. Plus the sound that goes with it was just, it was very quiet, and then it was just like it was a really good jump scare. That's my horror moment. So what about you?
My horror moment is probably that pan up from the door frame and her like upside down and just be like,
yeah,
it's just so unnerving. And it's the first like really like spooky part of the movie. Like they give you some suspense beforehand, but then they give you that and you're like, ooh,
very cinematic. Favorite kill is the cop who gets yeeted into Kyle's cell, like fucking pile driven into the metal bars which Kyle is in. Laughed out loud. It was great. Favorite kill for you?
Matilda Dixon. It's I see you, bitch, and just throws a haymaker into her face, Falcon Punch style, on fire. It's quite possibly the most pre-2010s horror movie death ever.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Favorite character for me? No one. I simply don't have a favorite character, unfortunately. Everyone's acting is so goddamn flat. Did you happen to have a favorite character?
Yeah, my favorite character, because he's just a suck on screen, is Michael.
Oh, that's
like
right.
He sucks so bad, and I love how bad he is. Like he transcends the oh wow, this is a really bad performance into wow, this is so bad it's funny.
Least favorite character, I don't know, every cop, because they're doing the like such a piss poor job. So I'm just gonna say every cop. Like, because even I didn't really like Larry, but he was at least funny. So that's my least favorite characters, I guess. What about you?
My least favorite character is Caitlin, because she the audacity of this bitch. She had no right to drag Kyle into this. Like, you haven't heard of or from him in 12 years. Take the hint. Leave him be.
Leave the man alone.
She fucked up this man's whole life.
The whole life. Yeah, she really did.
Whole life.
Leave him alone. Favorite line is something you actually mentioned, which is kind of funny because I have two reasons why I hate it. So it's the cop going over medications, and he's like, now, I don't know much about medicine, but it occurs to me that if a man is taking antipsychotics, he might have a tendency to become, well, psychotic. First of all, number one, I'm not listening to a fucking word you said after you said, I don't know much about medications. Not listening to anything else you have to say. And then also, did you put that together all by yourself? You fucking half-wit. Stupid. I don't know why it's my favorite line. He said it and I was like, God, terrible. And you're right. This is a terrible representation for mental health and everything that goes with it. Oh my God. Do you have a favorite line?
You have to believe me.
Yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. My rapid fire random thoughts that I had a bunch of. If you're bleeding that much from a tooth, you should probably go to a doctor because he was bleeding way too much. Why the fuck did bro not put the tooth under his pillow like the established lore? Caitlin had to do it for him. I don't know how this movie thinks boy and girl interactions work, but girls do not climb into boys' windows, and they certainly don't make the first move at that age. I fucking hate movie logic where it's like, yes, the top sheet will protect me from everything evil. The bath mat in their bathroom was a fucking mini pallet. Did you see that? Go back and rewatch it. It is literally a tiny wooden little pallet that's off the ground. I too take a metric fuck ton of pills for my problems and felt that scene where Kyle was downing all of his pills. Horrible idea to put a kid that's afraid of the dark into a sensory depth tank to face his fears. Bro is about to meet God. Getting thrown out of the window when Larry was driving 20 miles an hour was dramatic as fuck. And for someone who was trying to kill Kyle, she sure fucking sucks at it. Bro is killing everyone but Kyle. I had a thought that immediately was countered by this thought, though, of what if Kyle was the first kid to ever get away? Like, they don't establish that either. Was this the first time a kid had seen her and escaped? Is that why she's so bad at killing him? Because she is, every time there's an opportunity when there's like two people present, she grabs the other one. Go grab Kyle. Why are you grabbing Larry?
So I would like to think that because he has escaped for so long, they are giving Matilda Dixon just ever so slightly small bits of personality, and she's snatching other people to scare Kyle. It's like,
okay,
I'm gonna get you, but first I'm gonna get everyone around you so there's no one else, and I'm gonna get you.
Jesus.
And but I think they attempted to do that, and then it just came off as, why the fuck is she snatching everybody else? Because they give her, aside from being seen, no motivation.
Right.
Like, and it's not a no motivation slasher of, oh, wrong place, wrong time, but it's all fucked up is what I'm trying to say. There's not enough lore to back up anything that's going on, like you said.
Exactly.
Earlier.
Yes, it's all speculation. It's all what I'm seeing. My expectations from this movie is I do remember this scaring the shit out of me. Saw the ratings weren't good. Wasn't expecting it to be good. Figured I would hate it, but I ended up kind of enjoying how bad it was. And then my review, if I were to review horror movies on Letterboxd, would be, I really want to know what the flashlight budget was on this movie, because there was a lot of flashlights.
The battery budget too.
Oh my God. He pulled out the D batteries, and I was like, what is that? A fucking pillar? And I'm like, oh, it's just like 4 D batteries, like wrapped in plastic or something. I've never seen that before in my life, but yeah, D batteries are not those things. Those bitches are expensive. So
tactical reload of flashlight batteries.
That's exactly what he was doing. Any final thoughts on Darkness Falls before we wrap up here?
It's a movie.
And on that note, let's go to the post-review stuff. Taglines. Every legend has its dark side. Evil rises. An eye for an eye. Your life for a tooth. And stay in the light. Trivia. The closing credits run for 11 minutes. This is because without the extra time, the movie would have been considered too short to release theatrically. So really, it's an 86-minute runtime with 11-minute credits, so it's 75 minutes out the door.
You know, that is one thing that I need to amend on my likes. The runtime and the pacing, even though the movie is a jumbled kerfuffle of a mess, the pacing does this movie so much justice because you're in and out.
Exactly. Yeah. I forgot to add that to my likes as well, but it's a quick movie, so it's not like it's a 2-hour slog to get through. It's you blink and it's basically over. The sound of Matilda Dixon's wailing throughout the film is really the sound of an elderly woman groaning in bed. The sound was both sped up in the parts where Matilda screams and slowed down in the places where she gurgles and breathes heavily. The theatrical poster has an MPA R rating posted at the bottom. However, this is PG-13. In a different version of the film's script, the creature only appears in the final act. The studio was not satisfied by this, so they brought Stan Winston in to create a new tooth fairy that would be seen throughout the film. The original design by Steve Wang bears no resemblance to the new version, although it is the basis for the McFarlane Toys figure released in 2002. This is the problem when studios get involved. It would have been so much creepier if we didn't see this bitch until the end, but no. Here we go.
Or if they would have spent $1,000 more on the costume, and don't stop doing plain blank masks. Like it was fucked out in the 80s. Move along, do some sculpting, get fucking Tom Savini as a consultant. Like, goddamn it. This, I would have, if the creature had been just a little bit better, this movie would have gotten a so much higher of a rating.
Yeah.
But she's boring.
Yeah.
She's got a shitty name. She's got a shitty costume. And the only cool thing about her is when the mask finally comes off and you get like 2 minutes of that.
Yeah, exactly. The mask is kind of boring. It's very like Phantom of the Opera-esque, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Even the Phantom was only a partial face. And then you got the rest of his face, and you're like, oh, wow, the dichotomy of man. He loves, but he's a monster.
This you're just like, I'm not surprised she looks like shit. She was burned. The film went through 5 titles: The Tooth Fairy, Don't Peek, Fear of the Dark, and then my favorite, The Tooth Fairy, The Ghost of Matilda Dixon. Oh, there's another one. Sorry. The Tooth Fairy, Every Legend Has Its Dark Side. Guys, holy shit. Too long of a title.
And all of those are bad.
Yeah, they're not great. I just love The Tooth Fairy, The Ghost of Matilda Dixon because it's just entirely too long. I love a good, long title, unnecessarily long. Director Jonathan Liebesman didn't want to make the movie at all, as he is not a fan of horror movies. He wanted to make dramas, but his agent told him, look, if you direct big studio movies, in the next movie you can do what you want. And he definitely did other things, that's for sure. Goofs.
Yeah, but you can tell that he doesn't like horror because this was so close to not being horror. Like, maybe a suspense thriller, maybe, but this is so close to fantasy thriller.
Yeah, it was much more fantasy thriller. Let's see. Goofs at around 45 minutes while Kyle is driving a car with no windshield. His hair doesn't move. That's fun. The Tooth Fairy is sensitive to light, no matter how dim, yet she's shown flying around during the storm with no reactions to the very bright and near constant lightning. At 57 minutes, there's a power blackout during the storm, and we all see lights go out over the town, and yet inexplicably, the elevator works in the hospital. If there was an emergency generator working in the hospital, the lights would be on as well. And it is established early on that the Tooth Fairy is afraid and very sensitive to light, not just bright light, any light. Therefore, no one should be able to see her because you need light to see anything. Otherwise, it would be recoiling from the pain of being in a light source. So kind of what I said earlier, just better said than what I said. Rated 5.0 out of 10 on IMDb, 2.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, has a 10% on the tomato meter, which I think is probably the lowest score we've had on the show, and a 43% audience score. Corey, what did you give this movie?
I gave it a 2.5.
I gave it a 3, because like I said, there's a lot of good stuff. There's just also a lot of bad stuff, but I did have a good time, and that factored into the rating on this one. It probably would have gotten a 2.5 as well, but I did actually kind of enjoy it. So 3 out of 5 for me, 2.5 out of 5 for Corey. Similar movies according to Letterboxd. We have Boogeyman, Lights Out, They, The Ring, and The Ring 2. Similar movies according to IMDb. We have They, Ghost Ship, The Messengers, Stay Alive, and House on Haunted Hill. Let's do some funny reviews. They were kind of scarce, whatever you want to call it. They were either not funny or a paragraph. So, how many you got? 4, you said?
I've got 4, yeah.
And I've got 5. I picked this one because I don't really know if I understand it, but I'm also kind of dumb. So 1 star from Colin the Dude. He said, saw it in theaters January 2003. Inexplicable. I guess he just can't explain why he saw it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, good. No light was shed on that. What do you got?
A 1/2 star from Jay Laro. Literally watched Andrew Garfield's doppelganger for an hour and a half.
But he didn't have the part about being stung by 1,000 bees. You should comment that. Let's see. 1 star from Tim Cup, more like Darkness Falls with a bunch of Z's. Get it? Like, I guess he's falling asleep. Again, these were not great, so sorry, this is what I got. What do you got?
A 1/2 star from Anna Escriba, Darkness Fails.
That's a good one. 1 star from Tyler Van. I'm not reading that last name because I can't pronounce it. The only thing that fell during this movie were my eyelids because I was struggling to stay awake. Fair.
A 5 star and a heart from Mystical Witch, James Wan. I have a job for you.
Oh, man. See, that's what they should do. That's what we need to be doing here, guys. We need to be remaking movies that have solid premises, but just completely failed, instead of remaking movies that everyone loves that we don't need to remake. Someone remake this movie. James Wan. Oh my God. I would love to see a James Wan Darkness Falls. All right. 1 star from Amy. For a film where the credits start to roll at 1 hour and 10, this movie's still too long. Oh, goodness. You got one more?
Yeah, a 4.5 star and a heart from I'm a Warhol when the little kid's Australian accent came out to play. Caitlin Nar.
4.5 stars. Wow. My last one here, 1 star from Josh Lewis. 70 minutes of zone out to get to the part where a guy punches the tooth fairy in the face. That was pretty awesome. Oh, goodness. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube at Frightmares Podcast. Our email is stayspooky@outlook.com. You can follow me personally on Letterboxd at Dr. Proctor. Cory, you are
Frightmares Cory.
Booyah! Be sure to follow our sister podcast as well, The Shameless Picture Show, and also check out the Dead-Eyed Millennial podcast as well, 2 shows I edit. Next week, John and I will be back doing Dawn of the Dead from 2004. So until then, stay tuned, and
You gotta believe me. Stay spooky.